Good evening. This is Jason Dean coming live at you for another Film Fanatic show. I haven't done any of these, or I haven't done a fully improv kind of video in a while. So tonight is one of those nights. It's about 1:06 in the morning. It's a little bit late, but I don't know. I started feeling pretty inclined to do this video. This is this is a video that I kind of usually when I do videos, I usually do them like in the morning. I don't usually. I used to do when I was doing Facebook videos for Film Fanatic, which was my first kind of venture into doing video. I was doing them most of the time. I was doing those videos at night. I used to work nights, so when I would come home, that's typically what I would do. I would do the videos at night. Usually on the later side, I'd get home from work, take a shower, crack open a beer, and do a video then. And it was kind of my way to, end the day. But things have changed a lot. I have a much different schedule, so now I do videos usually in the morning. And so it's, I don't know, it feels a little more productive. But tonight, I decided to do a video for a movie that I just saw. And I have to say, it's generally one of the worst movies I have seen. It's definitely the movie that stood out the most as far as it came out in 2023. So it technically came out last year. It came out on video or DVD or Blu-ray, I think in January or February of this year. It was released last year. I did get a theatrical release. It was available on streaming. And it's definitely easily the worst movie I've seen of last year, and it might even be one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I just felt like, wow, I gotta talk about this, or get it off my chest, regardless of the hour or the condition of my hair. So So that movie the movie that I'm going to be talking about tonight is a movie that came out again in 2023, and it is the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. And this movie is, it's been, of course, it's based on the famous literary tale of Winnie the Pooh, and it's centered on all of the characters that we grew up reading about as a kid. But what they decided to try to do with this film was to and turn it into a slasher franchise. And oh my God, this movie is it's an absolute fucking atrocity. It's kind of one of those movies where I kind of can't believe it got made. It baffles my mind. It baffles my intellect like nothing else right now. Just on how it was possible that this movie got made, got financed. And from what I read, before this movie actually hit the theaters or was available streaming, this movie had a very, huge campaign as far as, the marketing. It was talked about for some fucked up reason by lots of different people. And it was, I guess already, it was the filmmakers were given the green light to make a sequel before this movie even hit the public. And so I guess the second one is being filmed this year. And I had seen some bad reviews about this film, and I had heard a lot of negative things. Initially, when I heard about this idea, I thought, okay, this might be interesting. I'm a huge fan of, my favorite genre of all time is the slasher genre. Like, I've talked about that many, many times. I've covered all kinds of slasher movies on this channel. It's my jam. We all have our Some of us gravitate towards action movies. Some of us gravitate towards, foreign films, documentaries, what have you, comedies. For me, the movies I always gravitate towards the most are movies in the horror, exploitation, slasher genre, if you will. So I thought, okay, this might be cool. It could be it's kind of a cool premise, you know, but this movie, I, again, like I said, I heard a lot of negative things about this movie. And before this movie was released, I did hear quite a bit about this movie. I wouldn't say buzz. Buzz would be a strong word, but I did hear about this movie quite a bit. The filmmakers did launch a pretty big and widespread campaign, with having lots of presence online and social media around it. And so I remember hearing about it. And, this kind of film falls on the heels of, or around the time period that the Terrifier movies came out. So there was kind of this thing in the air around independent films, independent filmmakers in the horror genre. And this movie kind of makes, I've said many times, I'm not a big fan of the Terrifier film series. So, and I have said that, I feel like those movies are pretty much, aside from the grotesque gore, which is cool, and I do think Art the Clown in those films is actually, a pretty good character. There are some things about the first one that I do, I kind of appreciated. I haven't seen the second one, but I felt, and I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but generally I felt the movie it didn't have any atmosphere. It was a cold movie watching experience. There were no real characters that I cared about. It didn't have really any atmosphere. I thought the only thing it had going for it were the grotesque kills and Art the Clown to a degree. But it just didn't have that emotional thing of where, I kind of cared about the characters, or it had some kind of creepy atmosphere, or there was tension. There was tension in the story. It was all centered on one character that I felt wasn't strong enough. But anyway, I feel like those movies, I haven't seen the second one, and there's a third one coming out, but people have been basically, left and right ever since the first Terrifier movies came out. People have been just shooting their load about how incredible these movies are and how incredible the first one is, and it's the new face of horror, and the new face of indie horror. And I just think it's just all bullshit. I did watch the first one, and I felt like, okay, there were things about it, like I said, around the kills. There were things around Art the Clown, the killer, the slasher, because it's billed as a slasher movie. And I thought, okay, he's pretty creepy. There are some things about it that are very cool, around his character. But as a whole, the next day I watched the movie, and I kind of enjoyed it. And then the next day I woke up, and I completely forgot everything that I saw. I felt like I didn't really experience anything. And I kind of attribute it to like the sensation of where, say you get a bunch of candy, or like you eat a bunch of cotton candy, and you haven't eaten something that sweet for a very long time, and you eat it to where your stomach aches and you feel like shit. And the experience itself is fun and kind of exciting, but then the next day you feel like crap, and then you forget about the experience that you had, and it didn't really mean anything, and you just felt like guilty. I don't know. But it basically leaves you empty, and there's nothing to really think about, there's nothing to really talk about or to experience. That's what I felt the Terrifier movie experience was for me. But again, it had some qualities about it that I thought were kind of cool. Winnie the Pooh, on the other hand, is just an atrocity. It literally is. I felt like the reviews that I've heard about this movie were it was pretty bad across the board as far as what people were saying about this movie. But I figured, hey, you got to give it, a chance. You got to make up your own mind, and you got to, see things for yourself at the end of the day if you feel inclined as a movie fan. So that's what I did. I rented it, and I couldn't make it all the way through because I felt like I was in physical pain watching this movie. It's so horrendously bad. I feel like this movie was shot by a bunch of like 13 or 14-year-olds. Like, it's astounding. It's astounding on how the acting is just atrocious. Again, I feel like this movie was shot by a bunch of like freshmen and high school kids. And I'm just like, wow, how did this get made? And the the dialogue is so bad. There is like absolutely zero atmosphere to this movie. There's no kind of world building. There's nothing to immerse yourself in. There's no, there's absolutely no tension. You don't care at all about the characters. They're literally just faces that happen to be on screen. The biggest part that's the biggest or the worst part of this film is the serial killer aspect. This movie is kind of billed as not a serial killer, but this movie is being billed or has been built as this like new slasher genre film. Where now it's this thing of where they're gonna make Bambi this, into a slasher movie, and all of these like, animated cartoon stories that we grew up watching as kids and as children. Now they're gonna turn them into like slasher killers, and and the effects for this movie, the actual creation of Winnie the Pooh, the design, again, I just like. I'm dumbfounded. I literally felt like somebody went to Party City on Halloween, grabbed the worst Winnie the Pooh mask that they could find, and they were like, okay, we're gonna call it good, and we're gonna make this movie around it. And the kills themselves are just absolutely awful. There's no gore that I have really even seen in this film. I didn't make it all the way through, and I'm just astounded. It's one of those movies where I scratch my head numerous times, and I'm like, how did this fucking movie get made? How did this, how in the hell did this movie get a green light where they were able to get, they're essentially making a sequel to this movie? I'm just like, it's astounding. One of the craziest stories I heard around this movie, there's a YouTube guy that I watch occasionally. I like him and I don't like his show. It's okay. But I don't want to name names. But there's a thing of where he came out and really, and he's a very big YouTube guy. He reviews mostly all new horror films that come out. And I watch his channel for more or less that reason. I'll watch his channel because, I like to stay current. I like to stay with like kind of what's trending, what's popular, or at least, keep my eye open for, bigger movies, smaller movies, movies that might fall through the cracks, movies that are actually very good, movies that are not very good, movies that are very mediocre. I like to keep my eye on a lot of new things. My love is older films, of course, but that's just how I've been. So I watch his channel for that reason, to kind of stay in the loop of newer films that are coming out. And he had put out a review he was able to see the movie early because he has he was able to get an early screener, or he was able to go to a special screening because he's a pretty big YouTube guy. And he wrote a review or did a video on this piece of shit movie, and it went viral. He put it out, and again, he's got a lot of people that watch his shows, myself included, and I guess he had put a post of his review on his Twitter show or his Twitter account. And so what happened was, and I heard this story, and I was just like, wow, like this is really, I've never heard of anything like this. But supposedly the filmmaker, and I think it was the director of Winnie the Pooh, and I think some of the producers, I think it might have been the producer, people that were directly involved with making this film, actually like verbally attacked him for his negative review and basically lambasted him and attacked him for the entire public to see. And I was like, wow, like these guys. My first reaction was, and I remember hearing about that, and I remember seeing a post about it, and I'm like, and I believe it to be true, and I think it's still on the internet that you can see, where you can see the proof of it. And I remember looking at the article and looking at the post and hearing him talk about it. And I was just like, my first reaction was like, these guys are complete and utter, they are complete assholes. Like how in the hell can they do that and think that they can kind of get away with that because their movie gets a bad review, and I feel like this reviewer took it easy on the movie. I really do. He went pretty hard trashing the movie, but I think now that I've seen the movie, I feel like he took it easy on the film and on the filmmakers. And that to me is just like kind of sums up the whole experience around this movie. I would not in a million years say to even waste your time in any form or another to see this movie. Don't give this movie any kind of money. It's an atrocity. It's everything that I hate about film, this movie. And the other thing that I say too that I also get really outraged by. The other thing that I get outraged by this movie is that it gets called a slasher movie, and I get it, at the end of the day, all this shit that I'm talking about, again, on one hand, can't take it seriously. At the end of the day, it's a movie. It's entertainment. It's a work of fiction. It's supposed to be just escapism, right? So it's not like really that important, say, or whatnot, compared to shit that is going on in the world in our reality, or at least what we perceive to be reality. So it's not really that serious. But at the same time, movies mean a lot to me. They are a source of inspiration for me. They are therapeutic for me, and they are the highest form of the art form of filmmaking is the highest form of artistic expression, I think, that exists on our planet. So, on one hand, okay, I don't take it seriously, and I look at it for what it is. But on the other hand, I do take it very, very seriously. I take it, in some ways, more serious than, or just as serious as the most serious thing that I feel, excited, that I feel the most, that are the most important things, and I feel like that's what movies are for me. Things for me personally, that have the highest value. So I do take it personally, and I do think, within this day and age where people are spending their money, and things are very expensive, and I see, coupled with the question of physical media going away, or the idea of like people going to the theaters or not, and how theaters get affected, and all these things, streaming, all of these things, I feel like it's more important to kind of like, kind of call shit out when you see it. And I feel as a consumer and as a fan, I'm spending my money on things that I feel are important. And when I feel like I'm kind of getting screwed, and I'm kind of being, I'm kind of, I feel like certain filmmakers or whatever, certain films that do come out, they really are shooting for the lowest common denominator, where they essentially think the audience is that fucking stupid. So it is kind of serious. So I kind of feel like this is an example of that. And it's this thing of where they've marketed this movie as this slasher movie. So on one hand, I feel like, well, I should say overall, slasher movies in a lot of ways are not taken seriously by people, and of course they shouldn't be, because they are entertainment. They are very a good slasher movie has great escapism. There's lots of boobs, there's nudity, there's the teenagers that get picked off one by one, great kills, great atmosphere, all those things that we love about a slasher movie. But and so like people are like, well, slasher movies are slasher movies. They one just bleeds into another. No slasher movies really stand out. And when I hear people kind of say that, it's just like, well, the term slasher movie is just this like generic thing that just means a pile of movies that are just part of a genre, but on their own terms, they don't actually stand out as a good movie, or that they have any actual quality to them, or they have any merit. And that, as a fan of slasher movies, that really pisses me off. I feel like that's a really terrible generalization of a genre that I think people clearly don't understand. And I just think it's fucking stupid. Because I think of, like, when you say, oh, this is just another, it is what it is. It's stupid. It's a slasher movie because slasher movies are, like, stupid. You know, when I think of slasher movies that I love, I can name a few off the top of my head. Say, the classic Spanish slasher film, Pieces. The Canadian slasher movie, one of the greatest slashers of all time, My Bloody Valentine. Or movies like Mad Men, or a movie like my favorite of all time, Maniac, or the original Toolbox Murders, or the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I mean, the fucking list is endless. Halloween, Black Christmas, um, you know, so many great films, and just that small group of films that I that I mentioned, yeah, they are definitely all, like, they are 100%, they are slasher movies. But I feel like being a fan and being at that genre and those films and that style is my favorite. To me, each of those titles and movies I just mentioned all have their own style. They all stand out. Yeah, they have those tropes of where it's a group of teenagers, there's naked people having sex, they all get picked off one by one. There's really impressive over the top kills. There's a lot of suspense. There's really creepy and scary atmosphere, and all those things. Yeah, like those are the tropes of a classic slasher movie. But all of these titles that I just named actually all have something about them that I feel make them very, very unique. Which gives them merit and gives them um, something, a higher quality of where they they act as standalone movies. They have something about them that makes them unique and special. They're not just movies that I feel are just these kind of like generic brainless movies. Like, of course they're entertaining and they're slasher movies and they're meant to be entertaining, but I feel like they actually have some quality to them. And they're all of those titles that I just named, just running some titles off the top of my head of what I feel are like some epic slasher movies. If you like slasher movies, they all have something unique about them. They are all, to me, all of those titles have something different about them. They all stand out on their own, in their own light and on their own terms. There's something unique about each of those movies. There's a sense of style that each of those movies have that removes it from being just lumped into this thing of like, well, slasher movies are just dumb, so they're just like, you can just put them all in the same pile. And so I think that attitude is really dumb and really, really ignorant. And people who think that or have this perception of, slasher movies that way, clearly I feel have no fucking idea what they're talking about. And to say that Winnie the Pooh is going to be lumped into this category, I'm sorry, you're a complete moron and you have no idea what you're talking about, and you should just shut up. And if you have a YouTube channel and you're talking about things in that light, somebody should come around and unplug your fucking microphone and go hang out back in your parents' basement, because you have no idea what you're talking about. So anyway, I just wanted to get this off my chest, and I have to say, stay away from this movie at all costs. It's just god awful. So peace and have a great night.